Here we are, bright and early on a Saturday morning. Nick Ashooh, Westwood One Sports. We got a little wrap up of the rest of the regular season in the NBA. Guys playing just enough minutes to make sure they get to that 65 game rule, which I hate, as you know. And we got a grown up Rory McIlroy. Boy, do we ever. Listen, the one thing about the Masters, I'll say this. I'm not a golf guy. I'm terrible. I was talking to Carlos before the show. I'm like, I'm just not good at it. I want to. My neighbor's awesome, and he's like offered to give me lessons. We just haven't had the time to do it. And I want to be good at it. I don't watch a lot of golf, though I understand the game. You know how that works? Like a lot of us are that way, right? But I recognize the event, and I understand that even if you're not a golf fan, even if you're not somebody that watches it much, the Masters just hits different, right? And we're an events-driven society, and we spend so much time wanting to watch big events and big moments, and that's what sports brings you, right? Sports brings you that a lot. It brings you those big moments. It brings you those big events. It brings you those situations where you may not be a fan of golf. You might not be a fan of, or know much about a lot of these golfers that are out there even. You could be that way, very, very casual, but you understand the magnitude of the Masters. And there's something special about it, right? Like, it's the dead of winter. If you live in a cold weather city, obviously we got plenty of people that are out in a warm weather city. Screw you. It's cold. It's still cold this morning out here on the East Coast. I've only been encapsulated in cold for about 7 months straight now, and that doesn't even count the Northeast, which is even worse than where we are in DC. But you get those Masters promos and those commercials, and you hear the music. I can't even do it. I'm just like, and you can hear it, and everybody's soft and slowly getting ready for, and you just know you get this feeling of spring. Like some people talk about spring training and pitchers and catchers reporting and all of that in baseball, and it's like that's the sign of spring. To me, it's the Masters, and it's just there's something unique and there's something special about it, and it can make or break a lot of golfers. And for so long, right, it was the test for so many as to whether or not they could make it in those big moments and the back nine and the final round on the final day on a Sunday. And used to be Tiger in his red years ago. And well, that's a different story now, obviously, with Tiger. And you look at Rory, and for so long he's choking, and Rory McIlroy can't finish. And then last year he breaks through. And now you look at him with a 6-stroke lead heading into a Saturday where he's a heavy favorite to win the tournament. And yeah, we got 2 more days, right? You got a Saturday, you got a Sunday, and a lot can change right now. But a 6-stroke lead in the Masters is it's something massive. And it's not just one of those things where it's something that's for Rory McIlroy specifically too. It's not something that's just what you see physically on that leaderboard, right? It's also the mental side. And I'm a big, I talk a lot about this. I've done this on, so many shows over the years where the mental side of sports gets overlooked so much, where I think people forget at times that these are real people with real brains and emotions and fears and stresses and pressures and all of that. And it doesn't excuse mistakes or right. People are like, oh, well, who cares? Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But the great ones overcome that, right? In life, anybody, we all have pressures. We all have stresses. We all have things we have to overcome. And if you really want to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve in life, you've got to be able to overcome those things. You've got to be able to overcome those stresses and those pressures. And for so long, Rory McIlroy could not do that in the Masters. And then he breaks through, even with a rough final round last year, wins, and he's got a first chance to be a back-to-back Masters winner since Tiger back in 2001. And you're looking and you're watching him again here now. Again, the pressure is only going to mount and get heavier and get stronger, and the spotlight gets brighter as the round goes on today, as things go along tomorrow. But Rory McIlroy feels all grown up now. This does feel different, and he's not going to have the same feel of Tiger back in 2001, because let's remember, kids, before all of this with Tiger Woods, he was a dominant golfer that was on pace to break every record that ever existed in the game of golf. And, that's obviously a whole separate situation. But when we look at where Rory is now, I mean, he's already a green jacket holder. He feels like he's got Augusta figured out. I mean, he was there practicing for weeks. He was going up to the course just for the day and testing things out and trying, just to get himself in that space. That shows you how much it meant to him, but it also shows that repetition does matter. That experience matters, right? I talk so much about this in the NBA playoffs, right? And we'll get to this later, but the NBA playoffs, we can look at great teams in the regular season. I'd even argue too, you can see this in the NFL. but like experience matters in the high pressure situations. It's why in March Madness, great guard play, but also teams with veterans tend to go farther in the NCAA tournament. In the NBA playoffs, you can have a great regular season, but it takes a few years to get through that wall, that mental hurdle of, oh, this is different here. The pressure is more. The games are officiated differently. Same thing in the NFL. And, it was a little bit different, obviously, for Drake May this year, but he had a great defense, and, that's a whole other story. But even then, great quarterbacks can have great regular seasons, but the playoffs tend to be different. And it's really hard to get through early. You have to go through those losses. Hell, let's even say this. I know this is probably going to make people mad, right? Michael Jordan struggled in the playoffs early in his career. I know people don't want to ever acknowledge that, but even Michael Jordan had some struggles early in his career in the playoffs, had to get through the Pistons. And, Rory's talking about like after round one, didn't even play his best round of golf. Well, if that's the case and we see what he did in round two, then he could just run away with this. There might not be any pressure whatsoever in the final round of this. There's certainly opportunities for a Patrick Reed or Sam Burns to maybe catch up. There's six and both 6 strokes back. So, this isn't done necessarily, but Rory's on the cusp of history here. And that's what makes this such a special moment for him, with still a lot of golf left to play. But you don't have to be a golf fan. You don't have to be a Rory McIlroy fan. You don't have to watch a second of golf. You may not watch the Masters at all, and you may just keep up with it on your phone. That's cool. But you're paying attention to what Rory McIlroy is doing because you understand what's on the line. And I think that's where we really look at sports, and we really understand that it's bigger than just the event. It's like the overall moment and the history. And that's what makes the great, like, sports movies, right? Sports movies are always about underdogs and overcoming obstacles and adversity and all that. We all love that. We all love those stories. Hell, it's all over Instagram now, right? Everybody's got something in there on a podcast and talk about their adversity. Because guess what? Everybody in the history of mankind, every human has overcome some level of history before, or adversity before, in the history, like all the time. You get what I'm saying? I need a little more coffee, as you can tell. It's early today. As Carlos nods. Carlos, though, is a big hater. I'm going to bring you on, Carlos. Carlos is a complete hater when it comes to anything involving golf, because you just hate golf, right? That's what it is? You're just a complete golf hater?
Try to this whole double thing. Okay, I don't hear double stuff, so that works. All right, beautiful.
We fixed last week. We're off to a good start today.
Yeah, I think I know what it might be, but who cares? That was c'est la vie. That's life.
I'm glad so it actually wasn't my fault. I want to point that out, that it wasn't my fault, which is a good thing.
Low-key, I'm starting to think it's mine. But in any case, I'm going to quote what I texted you and what I tell everybody when it comes to golf. So this is not a first-time bit. This is something that's recurring. It's not even a bit. This is literally how I feel.
Okay.
If the Masters was being played in my lawn or backyard, insert whatever patch of grass you want to associate with and have a reference point, I would call the authorities for trespassing. I would absolutely call the police and say, hey, there are strange men with clubs on my grass, and I need this whole event taken down and these people arrested. I don't give one lick about golf, except that I didn't say the word lick. All right. I don't give a bleep about golf. The only thing I know about the Masters are the 2 alerts that came up on my ESPN in the last couple of days, and I disabled those. I don't care. I don't care if it's the Masters. I don't care about the azaleas. I don't care about Jim Nantz talking about the azaleas and how smooth and how fast the greens roll at Augusta National, the majestic and the beauty. If your selling point are the flowers are pretty, miss me with your entire quote-unquote sport. It's a recreation. If a dude named John Daly at that size, at those pants, can go ahead and professionally play your quote-unquote sport, it's not for me. I'm out completely. I'd rather watch Ultimate Frisbee.
Not even, so you don't even buy into the moment. You don't buy into what it means, how hard. Wow.
Zero. I know a little bit about, these golfers, and certainly I know about the Masters last year, but that's because I was doing updates. I actually had to do updates on the Masters back when sports flashes were an hourly thing and not everybody was getting the information from their phone, which is so weird. So I know Justin Rose is 6 back. I know that, he almost stole it from Rory last year, which is why I'm not. Granted, I understand the lead that he has after 2 rounds. I've seen my man choke leads before. I mean, we had to go to a playoff last year. So I'm not completely benign to the fact of what's going on. I just don't care. Rory could split a cab with me from LaGuardia to my house. And I'm like, hey, so what do you do?
Listen.
Don't care.
Here's what I appreciate, your honesty with this. I've never heard somebody hate the Masters in golf as much as you have, because let me tell you, the one thing. I know you guys do exist. Have you never even tried the whole fall asleep on a Sunday afternoon to golf? It's one of the best naps ever.
No, the best nap of all time is that 4:30 to 5 Eastern CBS window on an NFL Sunday. That's the best nap of all time. I don't need golf to help me go to sleep.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? That is probably the ultimate. I'll be honest, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting you to be that much of a golf hater, but it's okay. You were honest. And I'll take it. Yeah, there are people like Carlos that just completely hate it altogether, and I'm fine with that. So, we do have the NBA also wrapping up this week. And I will mention, too, Capital Golf Gang and Game Day Garage live stream on YouTube today starting at 4 Eastern. Make sure you check that out. That's going to be live reaction, everything going on with Rory and everybody else. That's on a different YouTube channel than the one that I'm streaming on right now. But if you want to watch that, I got, I'm all ready to go today. A little coffee. So you can jump in the YouTube comments if you want to know. It's early. This is live. We're just going to, I'll be getting more coffee during the break here, as it always is. Raisin Bran, of all things, you're going to go Raisin Bran, Carlos? Good for you. It's not. Stick with the eggs, dog. Go eggs. Eggs every morning, and you'll be good to go. There you go. Sometimes, yeah. I'm sometimes not a hungry guy at all in the morning. I try to just not have a thing. Listen, there are very few teams in the NBA playoffs. We got, last night, you had a bunch of games and teams were there. I think there was a total of 168 total players that were inactive for NBA teams last night. The final day of the NBA regular season is tomorrow. And we kind of know the playoff picture. There's a little bit of seeding, and then we're going to be looking at the play-in tournament and all that. But from a big picture standpoint, there are very, very few teams heading into these NBA playoffs that you can trust at this point. I mean, really, very few teams, right? Like I said, the experience matters once you get to the NBA playoffs. And for so long, the Oklahoma City Thunder were that team. You went, they got a lot of talent. Oh, they're starting to grow. Oh, they're getting better. But they got to do it in the playoffs. They finally broke through. They won a title last year. I would argue that people would be even more focused on the Thunder and believe in the Thunder even more were they not named the Oklahoma City Thunder, even though they won a title last year. Still doesn't matter to people because there's this adjustment mentally that you have to have where you in your head have to realize, this team is a championship contender again. This team is loaded. This team is young, and this team could be a dynasty. And the Spurs are catching up to them and could be in that category too. I understand the Spurs in the previous era with Tim Duncan were all there, but the overarching NBA fan is still, I see it all the time. There's still this lack of, like, if the Oklahoma City Thunder were the Lakers or the Warriors, that roster was transferred over to one of those teams. The Celtics, even though the Celtics are one of the only teams in the East that I really look at, people would feel that much more comfortable with the Thunder as just, they're going to run away with this thing. And listen, they could. But you look in the East and you see Detroit is the 1 seed. I don't trust them. That team's got to actually get to the playoffs, or this team's got to get through the playoffs first. There's a reason why the Celtics now with Jason Tatum back are a team that's looked at as a true contender again. Well, they just won a title recently, a couple years ago. And on top of that, you get Jason Tatum back. And this was a team that last year could have won a title or at least gone to the NBA Finals had Jason Tatum not gotten hurt. So it's the Thunder to me. It's the Celtics to me. And that's it. Like, that's really it. The Nuggets are a notch below the Thunder. I don't think they're going to be a team that gets to the NBA Finals. They're not on the level of where Oklahoma City is in terms of the depth that they have and the talent that they have. They've got to stay healthy. That's why they sat everybody out last night. Everybody. I mean, nobody played last night. Nobody played in the NBA, but everybody's focused on the future. Everybody's focused on the playoffs now. The play-in tournaments in 3 days. Playoffs start in a week. It really comes down to, honestly, the Celtics and the Thunder are the two teams right now that I see getting to the NBA Finals that I trust in these playoffs because they've been there before. Now, is this an opportunity where another team that hasn't been able to break through that wall has that chance? Sure, it's possible. But you've got to think, for a team to fit that take the next step category, which is what the Thunder were last year, who is that team? It's not the Spurs. Now, I think the Spurs are really good, but you get to the playoffs, again, it's a different animal. Don't look at the regular season and think that the postseason is going to be exactly the same. Is it the Knicks? They struggled against a lot of playoff teams during the regular season, except the Celtics. So maybe that's a good sign. So you could maybe throw the Knicks in there as taking that next step, but Mike Brown coach team, they're always limited. Everybody thinks was Mike Brown really an upgrade? I mean, really, this is where the Knicks are right now. We're still talking about that being a situation where they can't get through. Experience matters. The Pistons and Spurs just aren't there yet. And I think that's one of the big things that you just have to take into consideration when you get to these NBA playoffs is you kind of get around and you're wide-eyed and it's like, oh, this is different. This is not what we expected here. It's not an instant great regular season, take that big jump, get to the playoffs. And that's where the Spurs are. I think the Spurs are a year or two away from being able to be a true title contender, but they're a great regular season team. I don't trust the Knicks because the Knicks find ways to still lose again, I'm also a Knicks fan, so there's an emotion there. I just expect them to let me down. So Celtics and Thunder. I mean, that's pretty much it at this point. Oh, we're brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Is there anyone at this point that can stop the NFL from its dominance? Nick Ashooh, Westwood One Sports. Nothing like the NFL getting investigated by the government, right? Boy, does the government love to get involved in sports. Pay no attention to anything else we're not doing right. Let's focus on what sports isn't doing right. You knew this was coming. Look, people have been pissed off for years at what's going on with NFL games and it being on a million different platforms. And it's on Prime, and now it's Netflix and Peacock, and regular TV. And then, wait, now it's changing again. And look, this was bound to happen. I know people don't like it. Look, here's the thing with me, and I'll just say this right up front, and none of it bothers me because I have all these streaming platforms. I understand it. I care about like the business side of our industry. I focus on that. I've got a small company too. So like it's a lot different where like this stuff is in my wheelhouse. So I understand that I might be a little bit biased with that, but there are a lot of people that hate this. And I get it, the frustration of like, well, which game is on this and which game is on this? But like in reality, it's even, I get that NFL Sundays were simpler before, right? You had the Fox games, you had the CBS games, you had the Sunday night game, you had the Monday night game, and boom. Then you had the Thursday night game every single week. Back in the day, you didn't always have a Thursday night game, but it was still relatively simple. The NFL has been layering in other networks, other platforms, other games year after year after year, and it's going to continue. And now the government's trying to figure out whether the NFL violated anti-competitive practices with these TV contracts. This is the expression that I've heard for years, and I've always wanted to use this in my life. So I'm about to use this. So here we go. Get ready. This is a dog and pony show, my friends. Ain't nothing changing with this. They're not going to fix this. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to, like, what is the government going to do? Let's be honest with ourselves here. And we're not going to get into politics. I promise you that is not my thing. We will not do that. This is the closest this show will ever get, or any show that I do will ever get to anything close to politics. What the hell is the government going to do? You can tell the NFL, you can no longer stream on Prime. Okay. No more Peacock for you. No more Netflix. Okay. Good luck with that. Like, this is what we've gotten to at this point. I mean, I think back to years ago when you had these just bringing baseball players through, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds testifying in front of Congress. Did you take steroids? Sammy Sosa no longer spoke English. Mark McGwire couldn't remember. He misremembered or whatever it was. And, Barry Bonds just lied. Like, they're not going to do anything. This is all for show. And I know you're laughing, Carlos, but tell me this isn't true, man. Like, I don't believe for 1 second that anything here is going to change whatsoever with the government stepping in. And by the way, let me just say this. The NFL's already got their line set. This is a quote from Roger Goodell. Over 87% of our games are on free broadcast television, including 100% of games in the markets of the competing teams. The 2025 season was our most viewed since 1989. They've already got their line set. People are watching plenty of these games. It's never going to change. I see this and I just laugh. I'm like, the government investigates college sports. They investigate the NFL. They investigate baseball. They pretend that they care. And then everybody's like, maybe they'll change it. This is never going to change. You're not going to lose Prime games. They're not going to go, well, we're just going to go back to Fox. Carlos, this is one of the biggest frauds that I've ever seen in terms of an investigation into anything sports.
No, 1,000%. And I was laughing because I remember Rafael Palmeiro wagging his finger at Congress like, I did not take any performance.
I did not take steroids.
Yeah, he did. That being said, I don't care. Let them all in. The government's not going to do anything.
Thank you on that. That's another day, by the way. Like, I almost spit my water
we could do a 2-hour show on that.
You save that for later. Write that down. You and I are going to have this when the content gets a little thinner. We're going to have this discussion of letting them in. Yes, I'm in. We're going to do that.
Yeah, but the government's not going to do anything. Like, it's completely counter to what the American economy is. Like, go out there and be a juggernaut as long as you don't have a monopoly over everything. And then the NFL doesn't. But believe it or not, even though it feels like the NFL has a stranglehold on the world of sports, the UFL exists. There are other outlets to go watch football. College is now professional. So the government's not going to do anything. It's like the NBA's investigation into Kawhi Leonard. They don't want to know what's in Pandora's box. They'll just let the box be in a corner. If something comes out, whatever, we'll deal with it then. But they're not going to touch this. What a 20-foot pole.
It's a pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. And by the way, like, how many streaming services would you say right now you are subscribed to?
That's a really good question because I have them subscribed through my cable provider.
Okay,
so it's like
you have a bunch, right?
Yeah,
like,
I got a bunch. I got. I can name off the top of my head. I may have 7 that I'm aware of.
Yeah, People already have these. They already have Netflix. They already have
It's
Prime.
easier to do. This isn't like 5-10 years ago where you had to like steal your neighbor's Netflix subscription.
Yes.
You have subscriptions that you A, may not pay for, and
Mm-hmm.
two, you just completely forgot about.
And that is like, thank you, Carlos. That is, I'm glad that you at least were able to be the person that has the honesty here, because for the love of God, like this is not going to change at all. It's not going to change. We are not in a spot where anybody is going to backtrack what these contracts look like. Laws will always move slower than technology. And if we're being honest with ourselves here right now, like if you really look at where the NFL sits and what it's doing, it's trying to take over the world. Really, the NFL is trying to take over the world at this point. Look at tech companies versus the government, right? They have all the control. All these AI companies, you can go down the list. They're the ones with all the money. They're the ones with all the power. They're the ones with all the reach. They move faster than the government does. You think the NFL is going to suddenly be told that they can no longer stream their games on other platforms? It's not going to happen, and they're not going to be willing to set any sort of precedent where then other companies are told to do something similar. This will never change. Look, politicians want to divert their attention from other problems, and sports is a great way to do it because you can use sports as this way to put a spotlight on it. It's polarizing, and then they can get their 15 minutes of fame. It's the same way that we get so annoyed with these refs that love to make it about themselves in NFL games. God, there he is throwing another flag again so we can get on camera. I mean, we half joke about it, but let's be honest with ourselves. It is a moment to make it about yourself, and God, do politicians love to do that, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to use our sports. They're going to use our sports and say, hey, I know you're upset that you have to watch games on Netflix and also Prime. They don't care about you. They don't care. They don't care that you have to have all these different subscriptions to watch the NFL. They don't care that money adds up. You think they give a damn? They don't give a damn about the bigger issues. They ain't caring about this. So for anybody that thinks that the government's going to step in and be able to let you watch all the NFL for free, I hate to tell you this, it's not going to happen ever. It never will. This is the power that the NFL has. And are you getting nickel and dimed? Yes, to a point you are. And yes, they can throw around the 87% of games are on free TV, blah. It's not really free. I mean, like sort of, if you want to use the bunny ears and not actually have a cable subscription or anything, you can get your local Fox and local CBS and you got that. But like, let's stop pretending that this is going to change. I mean, would it be easier if it was just on those two? Yeah, but it's not going to be. And here's the thing about a lot of these, tech companies like a Netflix, like a Prime, like you could throw Peacock in there because that's a streaming platform, even though NBC is not a tech company, it's different. These platforms give you a chance to have cool other broadcasts, right? Like where you can, if you're a bettor, you can integrate your bets in there, and you can get all the stat overlays, and you get alt casts and get all these different things that a lot of people do like. I mean, not everybody's into that. Some people want the traditional stuff, but this allows for other opportunities to have it gives you gives you other options when it comes to watching these games. And the league can hide behind this 87% stat. I get it. But, yes, the premium games, this is where people get the most frustrated. A lot of the marquee matchups, the playoff games, holidays and stuff like that, they are kind of getting put behind paywalls. What the NFL is doing, and again, I understand where the frustration is with people. The NFL is creating a paywall situation, right? Where there was always the joke that one day the Super Bowl was going to be on pay-per-view. Don't think the NFL's not considering this. They are. It's going to take years. But what you're doing and what's happening to all of us, and again, it doesn't bother me as much. I recognize that because I've got all these, like Carlos had all the subscriptions like we talked about. Like everybody's got these. But what the NFL is doing is slowly making you comfortable with more subscriptions, like everything else in society. We all have subscriptions. Almost everything has a subscription model, or there's tiers where you're like, hey, you want this information? Well, you got to go pay for this subscription. $5.99 a month. You want this free sports news? You want to edit this video for your social media? Oh, you like that video effect? Well, that's going to cost you an extra $5 a month, little by little. It used to just be people didn't want to pay for apps. Remember those days where it was just like, nope, I only want the free apps. Yeah, they don't really exist anymore. So slowly we just get inundated with more of this, and it gets caught in our brain, and then we get used to it. I mean, if you were to change this, then you change the whole model of subscriptions to every business around this country, and you ain't going to do that. That's why I'm telling you, the government doesn't care. They're not going to change it. It's not going to happen. That's just how this works. And I mean, man, the NFL is operating like a tech company. They have so much power, and they are looking to expand around the world to the point where Roger Goodell just said, he just said that there's no question they're going to be playing in Australia again. You've got the Melbourne game, and that's on that Thursday. Remember, the NFL shifted their whole schedule. They've shifted it because of that 1961 broadcast rule that we've talked about before that's antiquated as hell, which is part of what the NFL and the government is fighting over. I told you this was going to change, right? I said when that first came out, I said that's going to be fought. It's already in court now. Like that's sort of. I'm not going to, again, no politics, but I'm just saying we're kind of at that point where this is happening. But Roger Goodell has literally said, like, this isn't a circus, which is a great quote. Our view is that we're coming here for the long term. This isn't a circus. Talking about Australia, yeah, they are. They want to be in every time zone, and they want to be in every place that they can. The league doesn't care about fans. It doesn't care about players first. It cares about its profit. And, for you to expect anything else, I'm sorry. Like, I get that you want that. They don't care. The only way the NFL starts to care is if you stop watching. And I can say this because for so many years in D.C., obviously everybody hated Dan Snyder. Everybody hated how the then Redskins were run into the ground. And I would always say on air, like, and I'm not going to say that I made the movement on this, but I will say this was my thing for a long time with fans was if you're pissed off, stop going to games, stop giving them your money. Because for so long, the Redskins then were one of the most valuable franchises in the NFL. It started to really fall apart. And once the Redskins then, see, it's a habit now going the other way. Once that team valuation started dropping and they were farther and farther down the list, that's when it started to become an issue. And that's when it started to be more noticed by the previous organization. But they still didn't fix things enough. And really the only way that obviously Dan Snyder got pushed out was because, well, everybody turned against him, which is good. But like money is the only way that you get attention with these owners. It's the only way that you get attention with any league in this sense, really. They're going to make as much profit as they can. That's a business. That's how it works. They're not doing anything immoral. It may be frustrating, but they're not doing anything immoral. So they don't care about the players. Player safety is complete crap. It really is. Stop pretending that it is. They wouldn't add an 18th game. They wouldn't have added a 17th game if it was really about player safety. They wouldn't have Thursday night games and players playing on short weeks if it was about player safety. So just nobody believes it. It's complete crap. They're going to if you keep paying, they're going to keep pushing the envelope. They're going to continue as a league to try and get more and more, whether it's games overseas or games on random nights, taking over every single night and every single time zone. That is how the NFL operates. Kyle Shanahan, just because the 49ers play the Rams in that Australia game, first week of the season, that Thursday, Kyle Shanahan literally said, I don't see any pro. It's cool for the league to play globally, but as far as the team is doing it, there's not much benefit to it. He's absolutely right. There is no benefit to this. None. It doesn't benefit the players. Are you getting a little bit more exposure as an individual brand in these markets, in these countries? Yeah. But certain teams have marketing rights in certain countries as well. Like the Browns of all teams just announced they have marketing rights in, I don't know where. I can't remember, but whatever country that is, I apologize. We have better than this to send you. Don't pay attention to the Cleveland Browns. They're a disaster. Browns fans deserve better than that dumpster fire, but you're still going to get the exposure as a player and as a team when you have these marketing rights. These teams own the rights where only certain teams can market in certain countries outside of the U.S. The only real benefit to the league is if they turn this into another NFL Europe or an NFL World and find a way to make it a minor league. But is that going to be so expensive to operate that it's not even worth it? So there's not much to it. But this is not going to change. The NFL is a freight train without brakes, barreling down the track, and there's no curves to worry about anywhere in front of them. It is a straight shot over the plains of flyover country in the United States, and they are just going to take it worldwide. And it's not going to change. This is what this league is. It's not. Don't think for a second, oh, maybe we're going to get lucky and the NFL make it easier for us to watch all these games. We don't have to worry about Prime or Netflix. It's not going to change. Could we get an NFL draft shakeup, though? Maybe early in the first round? Nick Ashooh, Westwood One Sports. First round of the NFL draft to 12 days away. Yes, 12 carry the 1, add the 2. Yeah, 12 days away, I think, if my math is correct here. And there going to be a lot of chaos. We know Fernando Mendoza is going number 1, right? I think it's clear. Even though I would argue that maybe if you're the Raiders, with all the lack of talent you have, trading down and getting a boatload of picks might be good for a more stacked, potentially, NFL draft next year. But it is what it is. I'm at Nick Ashooh on Twitter, by the way. Streaming live on my YouTube channel. You wanna jump on there. So we know... Realistically, though, we know where the Raiders are going. He's number 1. We know that's going to happen. I mean, he's already been in Vegas this week with the Raiders offseason program. Like, Fernando Mendoza is already a Raider. So let we take that out. There is a chance, though, that just the first round of the NFL draft alone, and I know there's some scouts out there and, people behind the scenes that are like, there's not going to be a lot of trades in the first round. We've heard that before. Again, believe very little of what you hear at this time of year, especially this close to the NFL draft, because this is one of the last opportunities that teams, coaches, front office personnel, agents, maybe even players, it's one of their last chances they have to get whatever narrative out is that they want that benefits them, right? Teams will float rumors out there so a player drops in the draft so they can get him. This has happened. This is true. It's dirty pool, but it happens. Happens more often than you realize. Where'd that rumor come from? What? Nothing's wrong with his knee. What? Why is Arvell Reese dropping in the draft? Well, I mean, that could happen. Somebody floats out a rumor because they want Arvell Reese to drop, and all of a sudden the Jets are like, we keep screwing things up. We got to do something different. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what I am saying is that, I mean, as soon as number 2 in the draft, the Jets could potentially do a couple of things that then have a trickle-down effect all the way through. And it could be as simple as not taking Arvell Reese, which is what a lot of people feel like they're going to do at number 2. And maybe that ends up being the case. But let's say they don't. I mean, let's say they trade down, or let's say they take somebody totally different. Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State, who I love, and I'm praying falls to my Commanders at 7. Praying, because God knows they need more help on defense still do. But, there is potential there for not just what happens at 2, maybe at 3 with the Cardinals. The Cardinals are also a mess. They screw things up. They might screw this up too. There's all of these opportunities for a trickle-down effect that could bring a lot of chaos in the first round of the NFL draft. I mean, there is really a chance that ends up happening. And again, it's very unpredictable. But that opportunity then for other teams, because they have to be reactionary, they got to react to what happens above them, is when you start to see more and more things really get either not just chaotic, but also uncomfortable for some teams where they're bored. If you're sitting at where the Browns are at 6, the Giants are at 5, the Commanders are at 7, the Saints at 8, the Chiefs at 9, the Bengals at 10, whatever. Like, these spots, those teams then may have to react where they're starting to cross guys off their whiteboards, right? And you're all of a sudden realizing this ain't going to be the draft we expected it to be. And that's when other teams start to consider trading down or trading up and getting more aggressive. And because there's a guy that you desperately want there. And, you could even take this farther back. I'd argue the Jets have a lot of control in this draft. The Jets have a lot of control of where this draft can go because it's not just 2. Remember, the Jets have 2 first-round picks this year and next year. And they could potentially, at 16, go quarterback. Ty Simpson has been so polarizing, and quarterbacks always are. We know that. Quarterback from a major program like that, SEC school, I mean, it's a guarantee that that's going to be the case. But in a year where we've had really no great quarterbacks on the market in terms of, I'd say free agency, but great quarterbacks don't hit free agency. But even as bridge quarterbacks, there haven't been a lot. Kyler Murray and Tua obviously are very broken, and I know they're in new places, and I do think Kyler's going to succeed in that offense in Minnesota. But, I mean, there were teams that needed quarterbacks and not a lot of options in the draft, at least in the first round, is absolutely not that situation. So Fernando Mendoza off the board. Ty Simpson got a draft invite to Pittsburgh, which means he's probably been assured that he's going to be a first-round pick. Guys don't show up to the draft if they're not pretty much assured that they're going to be in that spot. You don't want to be Geno Smith dropping in the second round. You don't even want to be Aaron Rodgers falling in the first round the way that he did. So if we're looking at it and we're reading the tea leaves, if you will, if we're going to sit and sip and go, what does this tell me here with Ty Simpson? Well, it tells you that Ty Simpson, say that again? Oh, with the sip? A little sip? Mm-hmm. See how I do that? See how I do that? Yeah, just mixing it all in, Carlos. Mixing it all in, my friend. Which, listen, and again, I know the Jets they do a lot of things wrong. They can't draft a quarterback, but they've drafted other positions well. Sauce Gardner, I know they traded a lot of the talent away, but they have drafted some talent in the first and second round that has worked out for them. But they need a quarterback. And if I'm the Jets, I'd draft quarterbacks in the next 2 first rounds. Why not? I mean, you got to get it right. They cannot get it right. Give yourself the options. You can't have another Zach Wilson. You definitely can't have another Sam Darnold where he then goes and succeeds elsewhere and you realize, oh, it was us. It wasn't you. It was me. That's the Jets with quarterbacks. Zach Wilson should have never been taken where he was, but they got, wowed by what he could do in his workouts. How many times have we seen a quarterback jump in the draft because somebody watched their big arm and went, oh, look at that. Anthony Richardson was hitting the ceiling of a field house, and people were like, that guy's a first-round pick. No, he wasn't. Zach Wilson running around and throwing off his back leg, and, oh, that guy's a first-round pick. No, he's not. But it's not like the Jets make anybody better. But at 16, that could be where Ty Simpson goes. Ty Simpson could end up going 16. Maybe the Jets trade back and they still get him. But the Jets have a lot of control in this draft, which, again, leads to chaos because we're looking around going, oh, my God, the Jets could just send everything into a tailspin. Wide receivers could be dropping in this draft. There's a lot of reports that teams are willing to wait until late first round or maybe even second round because there's so much depth at wide receiver at this point right now. So you're going to have some guys go early. You're going to have a Carnell Tate probably taken in the first 12 picks or so. He might go to Washington at 7, could go to the Dolphins at 11. I mean, these are spots where he could go, maybe the Saints. But you got 16 different prospects that got invitations to this draft, and 5 of them are Ohio State players. We know Ohio State's loaded. We know that's a lot of talent coming into this draft. But when you sit and look at players that are invited, there's a reason. They're invited because they want to be first-round picks. They're invited because they know that's likely going to be the case. And the Jets have 2 first-round picks and a lot of needs. And there's an opportunity here for that to be a team that is very, very aggressive in what they do. I'm a big fan of trading down in the draft when you have a lot of needs, unless there is a can't miss. And again, can't miss, you can put in quotes. We once thought Chase Young in Washington was going to be can't miss. Trust me, I remember it. He's fine in New Orleans, but it was just never there in DC. But, if you think there's a guy that's really going to make a difference, but you don't need a quarterback or you're not looking for a quarterback, there's other directions you can go. It's a lot harder to nail quarterback or be in a position to draft a quarterback. It's a lot different to know we need a linebacker, maybe an edge rusher and a wide receiver. You got options in the first round. And, it's not like the Jets are going to be the only team that controls things. I'd argue the Eagles are going to be massively aggressive. They just made a trade yesterday. They just traded for Dontavian Wicks from the Packers. So they had 9 picks. That fifth round pick went to the Packers, so they're down to 8, but they could trade back again. They could add more. I mean, Howie Roseman's got a mess to clean up in Philly. And we know that. Jalen Hurts drama aside, you got A.J. Brown drama too. And there's no way now. I mean, the Eagles have traded for or signed or traded for 3 different receivers over the past less than a month. Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, Dontavian Wicks now. What's that tell you? That tells you that the Eagles have said A.J. Brown's gone. And at this point, how could you bring him back? But to trade for another wide receiver yesterday, you got a ton of picks. It only cost them a 5th-round pick. And you don't know what you're going to get from these Packers receivers. I know Romeo Doubs got a big deal in New England, but every week it was somebody different, right? Every week it was somebody different with the Packers where you go, I don't know what their receivers are going to look like. Maybe this works. Maybe it doesn't. But, I've always said this. The NFC East is very wide open. It's the Eagles' division to lose. But the Eagles can lose this division because if you're Philadelphia, you've got yourself one hell of a defense, but you got an offense that continues to be a mess. It's different offensive coordinator every single year. Sometimes they take other jobs. Sometimes they get fired because they're terrible, and a quarterback that's got a lower ceiling. Great in the tush push, great in moments where he can go out there and make you some plays, but he's not consistent enough, and we've seen it. And now the Eagles have been leaking out all kinds of stuff about Jalen Hurts. He's not a good leader. He's rigid. You start attacking a player's character, especially someone that's a quarterback that's in a leadership position. Once that happens, it tells you it's done. It's just you're setting things up, right? The NFL for years has been setting us up for subscription models and paywalls to watch our games. The Eagles are setting us up for a divorce with Jalen Hurts. But they're adding a bunch of receivers, and it tells you that A.J. Brown is gone. I don't think there's any question about it that A.J. Brown is going to be gone when it's all said and done. And, I'd argue that the Commanders are going to be aggressive because they see, like, the Commanders spent a ton of money this offseason, and they have a chance to, I know it's crazy, but they have a chance to win that division. I mean, a lot of things have to go their way, mainly health, but, I mean, this is a team that won 12 games in Jaden Daniels' rookie year, and the Eagles were just better that year. But this past season, the Eagles were vulnerable, and Washington had a ton of injuries, and they overachieved in 2024. I mean, everybody knows that, but they stayed relatively healthy. And if with the money that they spent this offseason, if those players pan out, they get a few more picks in this draft, trade down a little bit, nail it with number 7, unless they trade back there. Washington could be a team that competes for the NFC East. And Howie Roseman knows that. I mean, he understands what Adam Peters, their general manager, has done and what they've built there. And again, I'm not being a homer. I'm not sitting here. Trust me, I am as critical as my team as I've always been. But there's at least a vulnerability there in the NFC East, and Howie Roseman is about as aggressive as any general manager in the NFL. He'll make trades week 2, week 3 of the NFL season. No one makes trades like that. Howie Roseman does. Out of the blue, he's trading for wide receivers or signing other guys or adding more picks. It just comes out of nowhere with the Eagles. So there are certain teams that, have the opportunity to really dictate a lot of what this draft could look like. That first round alone, again, there's always going to be picks in mid-round, second, third, fourth, whatever. But it's the first round where a lot of this can be dictated. And a lot of teams could get aggressive or say, you know what? The guys we really want aren't on our board. Let's trade back. Let's go a different direction. I think the Jets could be one. I see the Eagles being another. I see Washington having an opportunity to do that. There's a lot of stuff on the board. The end of 2 NBA eras at once is coming. Nick Ashooh, Westwood One Sports. Oh, we got a dominant Rory 6-shot lead heading into the weekend at the Masters. That's a 36-hole record, by the way. So he's trending up while the Los Angeles Lakers are trending down real quick. I'm at Nick Ashooh on all the socials, so you can watch on YouTube as well. Just go to my YouTube page because I'm selfish and make it about me. You can see the little, if you watch, there's a little cutout of me, a little mystery face. If you're listening, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but you'll see it on YouTube. It's there. It creeps people out, and that's why I leave it there. Man, just when you thought things were going to be good for the Lakers, right? Look, the NBA, nobody played last night. 168 players were out NBA-wide. Final regular season games are going to be Sunday. Everybody plays. We get to the play-in tournament on the 14th starting, and then you get to the playoffs a week from now. It's time, right? It's time. I get it. Look, the NBA is never going to shorten their season. I'm an NBA guy. I love the NBA. I know 82 games is probably too much, but the NBA has done what it can to try and make things more interesting. Fine. It's the world we live in. But, man, if you were a fan of the Lakers, you may not be now when it comes to the playoffs. And, again, right, a lot of you Laker fans, you're a little bandwagon, right? I know, maybe. But, listen, you kind of thought everything was going to go in the right direction. Luka gets hurt. Austin Reeves gets hurt. And you look around and going, LeBron at 35 could have done this. Can LeBron 6 years later carry this team like he did the Cavs years ago? Because remember that playoff run for the Cavs years ago was 2015. The Warriors won their title then, but it was Kevin Love getting hurt in the first round, Kyrie Irving getting hurt later, and it was LeBron carrying that team by himself, averaged like 35 a game or something like that in the NBA Finals. And, there's a certain point where even the great ones, even the greatest basketball player of all time in LeBron James, only has so much that he can do at 41 years old. Things start to hurt. I mean, listen, LeBron is having old man injuries now, okay? It's going to be really hard for him to try to drag the Lakers out of the first round by himself. I mean, miracles can happen. If does enough hyperbaric chamber work and stretching and foam rolling and all the other things that he's got to do. I know it's more than that, but the reality here is it's going to be real tough. It's going to be really tough for LeBron James to carry this Lakers team by himself, and he's not going to get to rest. He's not going to get to deal with, timeout because of old man injuries where he can sit out and load manage because he's got sciatica or an arthritic hip or toe or foot or whatever it is. And yeah, it sucks. Like this is how you know that Father Time, Mother Nature, whatever expression you want to use is undefeated. LeBron James, who is just built differently than all of us, is having old man injuries now. Sciatica and arthritis. And you're going, yep, it gets all of us at some point. But, we don't know when Luka's going to be back. We don't know when Austin Reeves is going to be back. We know it's going to be a while, and it's probably not going to be the first round. And you sit around and look and go, maybe you have a Willis Reed type moment, and Luka at least is back because his injury is probably a little bit shorter than where we are with Austin Reeves. But this was kind of the point. You got to this point where you look around and you see the Lakers and go, things are coming together. All right, they're starting to click. LeBron has stepped back. LeBron's averaging less than 21 points a game this season. LeBron James is putting up the lowest numbers of his career since his rookie season. But at 41 years old and over 2 decades in the NBA, that's what you'd expect. And this is where the Lakers were expected to be. This is why they traded for Luka. Also, the NBA probably helped, but tinfoil on the head. I've got it here. If you're watching on YouTube, I won't put it on. But I'm just saying, listen, I'm just saying, Carlos, there's a chance. There's a chance the NBA helped out with that Luka trade just a little. Are you a conspiracy theorist on that? I love it.
If you go ahead and trade Luka, Nico Harrison definitely went to the future and found out the Mavs were going to get the number 1 pick. I just don't think he took that DeLorean a little bit further to see that he was going to get fired. But
right,
he saw the pick and he was just like, okay, I'll do this deal. This is not a conspiracy. This is a full-blown fact. This was a frozen envelope port 2.0.
I'm convinced that the Mavs actually worked with the Simpsons, who predict the future, as we've all seen, and they were able to figure out that that's what happened, and that's why he was like, "Oh, we'll get the number 1 pick, so we can make this trade happen. We'll do that." So, listen, I look at this, and what I see is very simple. I look at this and I say, if you're the Lakers, you have no shot at doing anything in the playoffs that you could have at least made some noise. Now, do I think they get through the Thunder? No. Do I think that they could get through the Spurs should the matchups work out that way or whatever? Yeah, they could because they've got a little more playoff experience, and I'm a big believer in that, and evidence proves that teams that have that playoff experience tend to do better in the playoffs. Regular season's one thing, playoffs is another. You got to break through. Everybody's had to pay their dues. Everybody's had to break through in the playoffs across the board. Michael Jordan on the way down. Every team, every player, everybody's had to do it. So I could see the Lakers getting through that, but not now. Not now. Now, if there's some miracle where this treatment in Europe that Luka's getting on his hamstring helps get him back at some point in the first round, and LeBron keeps them afloat the first 3 games, they're down 2-1 or something to the Rockets, and they got a shot. But Houston's really good defensively. And can the Lakers at full strength beat the Rockets in the first round? Yeah. Be a great matchup. Kevin Durant, LeBron, like towards the end of their careers. Like, it's great for the NBA. It's great for the audience. It's great for fans. It'd be a great matchup, but we're not getting a full strength Lakers team now. And it just felt like somebody had like a voodoo doll. There was some sort of curse on the Lakers where all of a sudden it's like, look at them. They're picking things up. Defensively, they're better. Everything's starting to click for the Lakers. And then all of a sudden, oh, there goes Luka. Oh, God, now Austin Reeves is out a month. And you're just going, well, that's it. That's done. And look, you don't have to be a Lakers fan. They're fun to watch. Right? Like, as a basketball fan, I want to see teams at full strength as we get to the playoffs. And that's what's hurt the NBA playoffs a lot over the years, is you've been lacking a level of star power that you would want. You're always going to have injuries, right? You're always going to have some guys that it's just going to happen, right? But you don't want to have a team go on a finals run where they go through every single team that's missing their star player. Go back to 2021 when the remember Suns and Bucks in the finals? Honestly, good matchup, 2 good teams, but the Suns went through every single team that was missing a star player. The Lakers didn't have Anthony Davis. That was at the beginning of Anthony Davis. I mean, the Clippers were without Kawhi. There was, I mean, you go down the list, whatever it was. Nikola Jokic was out too. Nikola Jokic was out for the Nuggets then. So, you don't want to see teams get to the NBA Finals because they went through other teams that are missing star players. You want to see as many healthy teams as possible. But, you get to a point where if you're an older team, it's going to catch up to you. And you can't totally avoid injuries if you're the NBA. This is some of the reason why teams like the load management. And in some ways, if I'm the NBA, I'd say, do we want a healthier playoffs or do we want a healthier regular season? Playoffs is where your big spotlight is. I get it. Load management doesn't guarantee players are going to be healthy for the playoffs, but there's a reason why 168 players sat out in the NBA last night. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about that game. They wanted to be healthy for the playoffs. The Thunder clinched the 1 seed throughout the entire playoffs, and they said, everybody sit. Like, everybody. It was their entire starting lineup, and they're probably top 8 players, whatever it was, all lined up along the bench, smiling, laughing, didn't care. And look, LeBron's 41 years old. And it was, we've seen, look, yes, if the Lakers are able to stay afloat and Luka comes back and they get to the Western Conference Finals, let's play this hypothetical. That's a historic moment for LeBron James late in his career. And you can't deny then at that point LeBron's greatness if he's able to do that. But that's a hypothetical that doesn't exist right now. But you're dealing with the old man injuries. It's really, really hard to just have confidence in the Lakers at this point. But it's not just the end of the era for LeBron. Whether this is his last year or next, I think next year is his last year. I think we get one more because there's no way LeBron James turns down an opportunity to get love from every city he goes to in video tributes and random gifts where they're giving him a chair for retirement and they're giving him a trophy and they're giving him a sweater and they're whatever, right? LeBron wants that spotlight. He wants that moment. I think last year is his next year is his last year. But we're also getting to that point now, too, where, I mean, it's the end of the area for the Warriors, as we remember, too. Now, Steph's still got a lot left in the tank, but he's dealing with some level of injuries. He's still playing at a higher level consistently than LeBron James is. And in some ways, you could argue Steph Curry can play longer in the NBA because even late in his career, he can just post out 35 feet from the basket and just hoist up threes, right? Like, just whatever. It's a different game than LeBron, so he can just start throwing things around. But Steph Curry changed the game more than LeBron James did. If you think about it, Steph Curry changed the game on the court. LeBron James changed the business of the NBA off the court. That was 2010 when he went to the Heat. That was really when players started understanding, player empowerment. I can go where I want. I want to hit free agency. For Steph Curry and the Warriors, Steve Kerr came into Golden State. looked around at this team that Mark Jackson got the 47 wins, and he said, I can do more. I'm going to change this offense. There's a story out there of like Steve Kerr right when he got the job at like some airport restaurant or something and showing somebody there like his plans for the offense. It's a whole thing. It's out there. But the whole point was like utilizing the talent you have and accentuating all their talents. And we know what the Warriors became. We know like, but that changed the game, and it was still based around Steph Curry first, and it was based around shooting, stretching the floor, what the NBA became, where everybody copied, and they were like, we can do that. Nah, you can't. You can't. It's what made it so unique. But Steph Curry was the reason why. Shaq changed the game in his prime because every team had to have bigs that would just take fouls and just try to find ways to throw bodies on them to stop them under the basket. But that was the old NBA. Steph Curry changed the game on the court because he's the greatest shooter of all time, and the Warriors built an offense around him and his ability to stretch the floor. Of course, you add a Klay Thompson and some of these other guys, but Steph Curry was the game changer for this era of the NBA on the court. LeBron changed it off the court. Both are in the twilights of their career. And look, this is the worst we've seen the Warriors in a long time. The last title they won over the Celtics years ago, you kind of knew, right? You're like, this is probably it for them. Kind of felt like they were on their last leg, and Klay Thompson leaves, and you're going, okay, this is pretty much it for them. But the Warriors now are at the point where they're squeaking into the play-in tournament, and since the All-Star break, they've given up a league worst 46% shooting on corner threes alone. Everybody loves the corner three. It's a little shorter. 57% on right corner three. So it's just that's a problem. All right. So it's like there's these specific spots now. The Warriors used to be a great defensive team too. So it wasn't just what they were offensively. It's they could take what they did defensively, translate it to the offensive side, getting out on the break, mismatches, all these different things. But the Warriors were a team you could count on defensively too. Now teams go stand in the corner, shoot threes. They can't stop you. That's it. It's the end of an era now. And they're decent at home, but they got to play these play-in tournament, play their first play-in game on the road. And it's just going to be like, they can't win on the road. It's not the same. And I think when you look at a team that's, statistically one of the worst teams defensively in the NBA, it's probably it for the Warriors. Now, they could have an aggressive offseason, try to maximize Steph as much more as they can. And again, Steph Curry still has a bunch left in the tank, I'd argue. Now, could he fall off quickly, start dealing with ankle injuries again? It's possible. But, if you're the Warriors, similar to what the Rams did, right? The Rams are maximizing what you can get from Matt Stafford. They said, F them picks again. They went after, brought in 2 elite corners, and they're going to focus on building out the rest of that defense. They've got weapons on offense. They want to win a Super Bowl at SoFi next year, and maybe that's a send-off for Matt Stafford and Sean McVay, and they both just go, all right, we're done. That's what I would do. If the Rams win the Super Bowl next year, they're all in for it. That's a great send-off for everybody involved. And then it's a parting of the ways, and it's a fresh start. And if you're Sean McVay, you don't have to be part of a rebuild. Matt Stafford, you're like, I've had enough. I keep getting hurt still. But, we see what the Rams could be. They see it too. If you're the Warriors, this is such a unique era that's down to the last little bit. Draymond's been in a ton of trade rumors, and pretty much everybody other than Steph Curry is available in a trade. And you're probably going to see that this offseason. So if you look at where Golden State is, maybe they win a play-in tournament game, maybe. But let's just move past it, knowing they're not going to make any noise in the playoffs. You got LeBron and Steph on their last legs. LeBron probably heading into his last season at the most next year. Steph Curry, couple more years. That's it. If you're Golden State, you take the approach that the Rams have had, and you say, we just build around Steph for one last run. But if you're doing that as a front office, a lot of times that's with the mindset of, right, Magic Johnson, I'm not going to be here. So if you're that front office, you're like, we don't care about 3-4 years down the road in draft picks. Let somebody else deal with that. That's a tomorrow problem. Today, we're going to go after Giannis this offseason. We're going to go after a name superstar that could get traded somewhere. And remember, too, they have Jimmy Butler on the roster. He's just been out with a knee injury all year. They already tried to do that last year, and it did work for a while. I mean, Jimmy Butler kind of fit in this roster with the Warriors, fit their culture, fit their defensive strategy, like all that stuff. But I could see the Warriors being aggressive one last time. Like the Lakers kind of are where they are. They've moved on from LeBron. It's Luka's team now. It's Austin Reeves' team, and they're going to give him a big deal. And LeBron maybe stays one more year, maybe goes back to Cleveland. I still maintain Cleveland's the way to go. That final retirement tour. Bronny, just bring Bronny with him because the Lakers don't care. They've drafted Bronny for him. They can go have more father-son duo, accomplishments and milestones and historic moments because of the father-son assist and son-to-father assist. We're just making stuff up. See that the other day? It was like LeBron James and Bronny James, the first ever son-to-father assist in the NBA after they already had a father-to-son assist for the first time in the NBA. And it's like, I mean, it's fine. It's it's a little moment that's cool, but like we do just like we're making stuff up, but you can go do that in Cleveland. So the Lakers have already moved on to their next era. It's Luka, it's Austin Reeves, and it's whoever else they add to that roster, which by the way, they can build an actual real roster now as opposed to let's do what LeBron wants. But if you're the Warriors, a couple years max with Steph left, they're going to go after some stars this offseason. They're going to want to get themselves a Luka, or they're going to want to get themselves a Giannis. They're going to want to get themselves anybody else that makes themselves available or could be available, or a team looks to make a trade, or I don't know, maybe they're like, well, secondary pick. The Knicks don't want Karl Anthony Towns. He fits our, like, you know what I mean? Again, not saying that's going to make him a championship contender, but they'll do what they can. And if you're Golden State, you look around and say, we're not going to have this era again. And they'll probably be in the basement for a while, like they were before Steph Curry was maximized and fixed his ankles and Steve Kerr came in. Really, it was Steve Kerr. And you're going to sit around and say, okay, let's just do what we can with this. Let's make this the last bit that we can, and we move forward. And I think that's what this really comes down to for them. All right, we're brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. A passing of the torch is also coming, but it may take more time than people think. Nick Ashooh, Westwood One Sports. I know at some point we have to accept that LeBron and Steph Curry will be done. They've been the faces of the NBA for a long time, but the NBA has ushered in new eras before, and they're about to do that again. And I know we got a week till the NBA playoffs here, but let's be real. They're pushing Victor Wembanyama as the face of the league. They want him to be the face of the league, and he makes sense. Dude's 22 years old. He's mature as hell. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and they're very high shoulders, by the way. Very, very high. The playoffs are that spotlight. And this is a chance as Victor Wembanyama is going to make his debut in the playoffs soon, as we kind of set. By the way, hit the 65-game mark. Congratulations. Welcome back to the MVP conversation, Victor Wembanyama. Had to play 20 minutes. That's the other little subtle thing about all this, is that it's not just that Victor Wembanyama has to play 65 games, but he also have to hit that 20-minute mark in that 65th game, so they made sure that it counted. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's exhausting. It's going to change this offseason. Again, I'm not saying MVP should play 40 games, but nobody's going to vote for someone that plays 40 games as MVP. It's just not. It's just there's too much of a spotlight on this, but we know what the NBA does. It's knee-jerk reaction to everything. Anything negative said about them, it's a knee-jerk reaction. But, this is going to be a chance now for Victor Wembanyama in these playoffs to get that spotlight, to get that opportunity to really assert himself as that next face of the league. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen instantly. We went through all these transitions after Jordan. It was like, well, is it Kobe? Is it Tim Duncan and the Spurs with the way they're playing now? And you kind of had that Shaq Kobe era for a short period of time. And Kobe was then in the conversation by himself. And then LeBron came in and is like, is it LeBron or is it? So it's going to be that way for a while. The NBA is likely not just going to be like, you have to establish yourself. You also have to win titles. We do a lot of ring counting in the NBA, and that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with it because it is still putting a premium on winning championships. But it's sometimes we then use it as a crutch where it's the Jordan LeBron argument, and I'm not going to get into it now because there's just not enough time for that. But it becomes this whole conversation of like, well, Jordan won 6 rings, so he's better. Well, okay, we're just counting rings, and let's also remember Bill Russell won 11. Nobody ever talks about Bill Russell in that conversation. Oh, well, he's not as good. Okay, but he won 11 rings. Robert Horry won 7 titles. All right, let's just remember that. Nobody's putting him in the conversation. My point here is that, like, you can use championships as part of the conversation, but stop using it as the number one spot on the depth chart. And we use that far too often, and it gets lazy. And Victor Wembanyama is now going to be expected over the next couple of seasons to bring a title to the Spurs. And again, he couldn't be in a better position, couldn't be in a better spot, couldn't be with a better franchise. Some people want to say there's a frozen envelope situation there to make sure that he went to the Spurs because they are really good at international players and developing them. If we want to put another tinfoil hat on our head, I can. Also, again, on the YouTube channel, Nick Ashooh. It's right there. I won't wear it again, but we'll get close to that point. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for the Spurs. It's going to take some time for Victor Wembanyama and them to get through the playoffs. It doesn't mean they don't have the talent. It doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to win. It doesn't mean they don't have the great coaching. I mean, the Spurs are as well run of an organization as there is in any major professional sports league, in any of them. But the success will bring the recognition. The playoffs bring the spotlight first. And then as they continue to advance and they continue to get better, and maybe they get to a Western Conference Finals this year, whatever it looks like, you'll start to hear that conversation more and more as Victor Wembanyama plays more and gets better. I mean, the dude looks like an alien, right? Literally, his nickname is the Alien. He looks like an alien. It's kind of one of those things where you go, he's pretty unique. You want to be the face of the league. He fits the bill. And he's a mature kid. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's kind of, unique. He's working with like monks in the off season, and brings a book to read before the All-Star game. You've seen that clip that's around. I love the guy. I think he'd be great. I think he'd be great for the NBA. Good nickname in Wemby. That's all anybody will call him. And once you got a first name basis and that's it. That's all you really need. And it's not as simple though as just, hey, you're the guy. Here's the torch. Like it takes more than that. And if we're being realistic right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to win another MVP this year. It's happening. Wemby's in the conversation. He's not going to win it. It's going to be SGA again. Because if you look at the history of the MVP in the NBA, all right, there's eras for players. There's short windows where they get to win the back-to-back or 2 out of 3, or like they're in the conversation. They're in the top 3 in voting, whatever. Giannis went through his phase. Jokic went through his phase. He's still like going to be in the conversation if he plays on Sunday because he's literally a game away. I'm not kidding. So he'll have to do the same thing as Victor Wembanyama, 20 minutes. in the 65th game to be eligible. But Jokic has won his 3 already. People get voter fatigue. The writers, the voters, they get voter fatigue. And you eventually move on to something else. It's SGA right now, and it's probably going to be Victor Wembanyama next. He's the one that's ushered in, and people have tried to throw some other names around. But, playoff experience still matters. Playoff experience and playoff success doesn't mean that you're going to be MVP. It's a regular season award. There's finals MVP for that. But this is now where you're kind of getting into that spot where it's the next step. And at 22 years old, remember, Tim Duncan won his first title at 22, early 20s. I think it was around the same age. But you also had David Robinson. Tim Duncan was elevating himself to the number one guy. David Robinson was passing the torch at that point. Victor Wembanyama is that guy. There's no legend that's there like Luka taking the torch from LeBron with the Lakers. That's probably a similar situation that's there. But you're in a place now, if you're the Spurs and you're Victor Wembanyama and you're the NBA and you're the league, like, this is your guy. This is the one that you really want to be the face of the league. And yeah, is he playing in New York or LA or Boston or some of these bigger markets? No, but you don't really need that as much in today's NBA. Like, it does still help at times playing for some of those franchises because there are far fewer people that, from a broad scale are paying attention to the Spurs or the Thunder on a nightly basis where it's just the markets. It's where they are. It's like, the Blazers playing up there in Portland when they drafted Greg Oden. People are like, oh, God, we're never going to see Greg Oden. Now they play in the Pacific Northwest, and it's not even a knock on the city. It's the time zone. I mean, really, a lot of it is that, and it's a smaller market. It's always still been a thing, and it's not as much of a thing. And again, I know Greg Oden didn't have a great career anyway, but that was the thing with Kevin Durant in Seattle the first year before they moved to, Oklahoma City. So, again, you can still be a star in the NBA, play in a small market, but it does hurt a little bit. SGA playing for the Knicks in Madison Square Garden, I'm sorry, he's a bigger star. He just is. If the Thunder's roster in general was transferred, if you could trade entire rosters, you traded the entire Knicks roster for the entire Thunder roster, there would be so much more hype and excitement around the Knicks, even if we didn't have a title. Even if that team had not won a title. If you did this last year, before the Thunder won their first title, they all became New York Knicks. And all the New York Knicks became Oklahoma City Thunders. Would you be a Thunder or a Thunders? I'm not sure what you'd be. But if that was the case, because you're the Knicks, because of Madison Square Garden, I know the Knicks haven't won a title since the early 70s. I get it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Fair or not, that's how this league operates. That's how just things around the NBA operate. It's how it is. So, SGA and Victor Wembanyama are going to be hurt somewhat because they play in smaller markets. It does still exist, but the NBA will put them enough in national televised games, and you're going to have a rivalry between the Thunder and Spurs where in the end, people are going to forget about San Antonio or Oklahoma City and what size market it is and what people can do there, or what nightlife is. Or it's not going to matter in the end, but it's going to take a little bit more time. It's easier to promote stars that play for the Lakers than it is the Thunder or Spurs. It just is. You have a little bit of an advantage because there is a level of name recognition with the Spurs because they won those titles with Duncan and Greg Popovich and Tony Parker and all of that. So there's a level of history there. The Thunder have none. The Thunder are building the history for this organization. I know technically the Sonics history counts. It doesn't count. We all know that. The Sonics are coming back in a few years anyway. They're going to be playing in Seattle. The Thunder are going to have their own identity, and they're building it. And again, the Oklahoma City Thunder and Sam Presti, their general manager, I mean, you want to talk about well-run. Spurs, Thunder, two of the most well-run franchises in sports, have the chance to be rivals for the next decade in the NBA. Do you know how good that is for this league? That's such a the NBA lacks rivalries. It's got stars. It's got a lot of young stars, but it lacks rivalries because you don't have the consistent, meaningful games year after year after year, truly heated games where stars are playing and they don't like each other. Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama don't like each other. That is a rivalry between two of the skinniest, lankiest dudes in the NBA. And they are going to be rivals for years to come, which is hilarious if you think about old big man rivalries in the 90s and how they were all built. It's like Shaq or, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, whoever. And now it's Stretch Armstrong 1 and 2. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man against the other wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Just the skinniest, lankiest dudes ever. That's the new big in the NBA, and that's the world that we're living in. But that's what you're going to see now. It's good for the NBA because you need those rivalries, but you need to establish it. And it will take time. But that will help with Victor Wembanyama becoming the face of the league. That will help with the Spurs becoming a household name in terms of franchises all over again. And it's going to make the NBA feel more authentic again, because for the longest time, it's been watered down by player empowerment and player move. Let's call it player movement. Player empowerment's stupid to argue, like guys choosing where they want to go in free agency. I mean, you get drafted or traded. You don't get to choose any of that. Who cares? But if you want to talk about the super teams and the trade request after signing a new deal after a year, like Paul George re-signs with the Thunder and goes, I've changed my mind. Trade me to the Clippers. Like, that was when people said, enough. Okay, we've done enough with this. But, when you have all of that player movement, similar to what you have with the transfer portal in, say, college basketball, and I'd argue college basketball over college football, because college football guys have to stay at least 3 years for the NFL. So, you have players leaving after a year in college basketball, transferring after a year. It's the same thing where it's harder to make rivalries meaningful because you don't have meaningful games. You don't have familiar players with similar storylines and moments that happened in a game last year. The NBA's lacked that. College basketball's lacked that. The NBA's got a chance to start bringing that back now. I think what we're going to see for a while, at least, is going to be more about rivalries between teams and young players versus like who is the face of the league. It's going to be more about Spurs Thunder. It's going to be more about Celtics Knicks. Celtics Knicks has a chance to be a really good rivalry. They've played meaningful playoff games. They played meaningful regular season games. The Knicks at least have a roster that has talent that's a title contender. Whether you think they are or not, I don't, and I'm a Knicks fan. I don't think they're Eastern Conference Finals at best. But you at least have a roster where that conversation makes sense. Late in the season, Celtics and Knicks play. It means something. You're starting to see rivalries with teams coming back together. Some of it's big markets, some of it's small markets. Doesn't matter. The NBA has lacked rivalries for so long. So long. And it's something that if they can start to bring this back and you start, and it's again, it has to happen naturally. The NBA's got their rivalry week that they created. It's not real. We all know that. You make it up. It's like you see these random matchups that it's like, I don't know, Grizzlies Nets. I'm making this up. I can't remember what they were. There's ones that mean something, Lakers, Celtics. Again, there's a history there. But then there's other ones where the NBA just pushes it. For a while, they tried Grizzlies Warriors because they played in the playoffs for like a couple of years when John Morant was actually John Morant and fun. And they were like, that's a rivalry. No, it's not. No. But I get it. You're going to try it. You got to push it. Listen, there are things the NBA does that I applaud. You try new things. You try, it doesn't work. You move on. The All-Star format sucked for a while. I think they figured it out now. Dunk contest is a mess, but I don't know if you get rid of it totally. But they're trying things. Play-in tournament works. The NBA Cup, I'm fine with. It's not great. It's art. You've manufactured a level of competition, but it's better than just having random games in November that people aren't paying attention to as much. You've created some level of competition, so I'm fine with that. But, they're going to manufacture some level of rivalries in the NBA. But now you have stuff that can happen naturally. Meaningful playoff games between teams that keep rosters similar over the next few years. The Knicks and Celtics. The Pistons will get back in the mix. Remember the Pistons, bad boy Pistons? We don't want that again, but this Pistons team, I don't trust them this year in the playoffs. But I do think that they've got a roster that can be in competition with the Celtics and Knicks for the next few years. Maybe you'd argue the Cavs. Same thing over in the West. You got the Spurs, you got the Thunder. The Lakers moving forward, even without LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, they'll add somebody else. You'll have them in the mix, and you'll start to build some of these rivalries. The NBA is on the verge now of potentially some really good rivalries. And that's where it's going to transition post-LeBron, post-Steph Curry, into a lot more of that probably before it's really established. Like, Wemby's the dude. I mean, it also maybe somebody gets drafted that's the face of the league, right? AJ DeBonsa may be that guy, right? Darren Peterson, maybe he's that guy. I don't know. We don't know yet. We haven't seen him play in the NBA. But what we do know is that the NBA will be in that transition period, and the rivalries are what's going to make a difference first. And these playoffs have a chance to really bring it. There are teams that you trust more than a lot of others, and yet at the same time, even if there are teams that you trust, you still know that there's opportunities for some of these other younger franchises to take that step. I think it's a good spot for the NBA, but you got to have a healthy playoffs. And that's one of the more important things. You got to have dudes healthy in the playoffs because we've had that in the past where it hasn't happened, and you just water down the product. You do. But even resting players late in the season doesn't guarantee that somebody isn't going to pull a hammy in game 2 of the first round and they're out for 3 weeks. It happens. So it's bad for the Lakers, though, that's for sure. Without question. I'm at Nick Ashooh on all of the socials. Wrap it up next. Nick Ashooh, Westwood One Sports. Look at Rory McIlroy just growing up right before our eyes. Doesn't tee off till 2:50 Eastern today. 6-shot lead at the Masters. Largest 36-hole lead in tournament history. This is a guy that had epic meltdowns in the Masters over the years. And, sometimes you just got to break through that mental wall. And he's absolutely done that now. And again, you got 2 more days. So it ain't like this thing's done. It's not like there isn't another meltdown that could be coming. I'm not rooting for it, but I also would like to see a great final round where it's not Rory just dominating. It's like, don't screw this up. Just don't double bogey every single hole. I mean, look, whether you like golf or not, whether you're a fan of golf or not, it doesn't matter. This is sports and this is history and this is these are iconic moments when you look at the Masters. It's an event. We love events. We love events in this country, big events, big moments. You don't want to get FOMO. You want to be a part of it. This is what this really comes down to. If you want to fall asleep on a Sunday watching the Masters, you don't even care about it. It's a great tradition, unless you're Carlos, who absolutely hates golf more than anybody I know. Just the hate that was spewed at the beginning of the show from there. I mean, it just, some people are that way, but you still have to appreciate the fact that there is a significant level of intrigue in what Rory's going to do. And look, he's already a green jacket holder. He's got Augusta kind of figured out. He's been going there already. He's been, for the last month or something like that, I think they said that he's just been sitting there going to the course and practicing and learning and testing different things to do. He's serious about it. He could be the first back-to-back Masters winner since Tiger back in 2001. And kids, in case you forgot, there was a time back in the day when Tiger Woods was a really good golfer, and that's all he was known for. How times have changed. But yeah, listen, there's still a chance that a Patrick Reed or Sam Burns kind of closes the gap, but a lot's got to happen. A 6-stroke lead is still a lot heading into a weekend. It's still a significant lead. Clearly, it's the largest 36-hole lead in tournament history, but it's not done. But sometimes getting over that mental hurdle makes all the difference in the world, right? And we've seen it. I mean, we've watched all kinds of athletes go through the yips or go through these mental blocks that they have to figure out. These dudes are real people. And we all have obstacles to overcome in life. We all have things that are holding us back or get in the way, or you have to change, or whatever the case is. It's no different for an elite athlete. It's no different for an elite golfer like Rory McIlroy. Carlos doesn't think they're athletes. That's why I said that for him. He just thinks that they're a bunch of dopes, but I know he's busy doing other things. See, there he is. He pops in real quick, just enough. I know you're getting ready for another show, but don't care. I'm going to call you out on that. But listen, we have a chance to witness history with this. And this is very different than where Rory was not that long ago. And once you break through, even though it was shaky last year, he held on. And now there's much more of a level of confidence that's there because you've been there, right? I talk so often about, I've said it before, the difference between the regular season and the playoffs in the NBA and the NFL in a lot of ways too. But you got guys that are great in the regular season, but when that pressure mounts, that spotlight's up, you're a standalone game, and it's late in a situation, it's different. It's different in the postseason than it is the regular season. This is a postseason playoff pressure, essentially, in a golf tournament early in the season. And it's different. And as you get farther and farther into the tournament, the pressure mounts, the spotlight's on you, you're featured more, and it's just in your own head. And in the past, it's Rory going, don't blow the lead, don't blow the lead, don't blow the lead, don't screw this up, damn it. But now, after doing it last year, that's what's going to be interesting to see today. He tees off at 2:50 Eastern, like I said, and then, of course, tomorrow as well. What does the lead look like going into tomorrow for Rory McIlroy? Do you see him, his lead cut in half? If Rory has a 3-stroke lead, let's say, going into tomorrow, is he going to be in his own head going, oh, no, it's happening again. Oh, no, it's happening again. I try to do an Irish accent. I can't do it, so I'm just not going to do it. I can do some others. I can't do that, so we're not going to try. But that's the closest I can get to Rory McIlroy. Or does he extend this lead? And then you just go, well, here he is. That's really the difference. Certain situations and getting over mental hurdles or mental humps or fresh starts for athletes. It depends. But it matters. Sometimes it matters for people. Sometimes you need a change in your life and you move and you go to a new city, take a new job, you're in a new relationship. Maybe you need to kind of purge your friend group a little bit, whatever the case is. This happens all the time. It looks different, but it's the same mindset. Change matters. Change can help. And for Rory McIlroy, the change was that he's all grown up now. He's gotten over that hurdle. He's won the Masters. He has the career Grand Slam. He has all that. And now there's a level of confidence that maybe wasn't there before. And we're going to see very quickly whether or not this is going to be the case today. And as Pine Needle says in the YouTube chat, 6-stroke leads can evaporate in Augusta in 2 holes. And he's right. I mean, this is something to keep in mind, that it can evaporate very, very quickly. A 6-stroke lead is great this time of year, or at this point in the tournament, but that doesn't mean that it's going to stay. And I think that's the thing to really keep in mind with this is watch how he plays early today. That's really going to be the sign. So I'm a big believer in specifically how a team looks in the third quarter of a basketball game. Just college. Well, not college, obviously, unless it's women's, not men's. You get what I'm saying. Coming out in the second half, what does that team look like? Does it look like they're still keeping the pace they had last half? Do they need to change some things, and you see that change quickly? What do they look like mentally? What's the intensity look like? Because now there's been time to sit. There's been time to wait. There's been time to sit and wait for Rory McIlroy after 2 rounds of this tournament, knowing that he's on a historic pace at the moment. Does that get in his head, or does he look calm, cool, comfortable? Same thing as a team, an NBA team coming out in the third quarter. The Warriors, the peak Warriors used to always be this way. They dominate third quarters. They'd come out at halftime if they were losing, and they would just step on the throats of teams they were playing. I'm talking 73-win Warriors era, that time. That's when you went, okay, they made adjustments at halftime. They're mentally locked in. Is Rory mentally locked in today? Is the change actually there? Is he more comfortable in his situation than he's been in the past? That's what I'm really interested to see today, because that will carry over into tomorrow. Whatever happens today, it's the third quarter of an NBA game for Rory McIlroy. That's going to carry over into the fourth quarter. That's going to carry over into the final round tomorrow. Is it a 3-stroke lead? Do you have somebody like a Sam, is Sam Burns 1 stroke, like anything? Again, there's a million scenarios that can happen. It can change very, very quickly. So it's whether or not this is a good position for him to be in, or does it put pressure on him because he doesn't want to blow the lead? Like, in some ways, it's almost better to just stay in playoff mode forever. Teams, right, that you have to back your way into the playoffs, end up winning a Super Bowl. The Giants with Eli did it basically both times. I know they won a division once, but they backed their way into the playoffs. I'll always use the Nats as an example. When they won a World Series, they were 19-31 in May. They're about to fire their manager, and then they go on a run and they end up winning a World Series. And it's like they were in playoff mode throughout all of that. The Nationals always struggled when they had double-digit division leads. They got into the playoffs, they had this easy, and then it was like they blew all of it, and they lose, their first playoff series, and you're going, what the hell happened? Sometimes it's almost better to have that intensity and that mindset of being in a spot where it's just you have to be locked in the entire time. Rory has to still be locked in the entire time today. The entire time. Because that will carry over into tomorrow. And that's really, really important. I will self-promote here. Game Day Garage and Capital Golf Gang. We got a live stream starting at 4 Eastern today on the Game Day Garage YouTube channel. Yes, I'm self-promoting my own company. Do not care. It's going to be great. We got some big names doing that stream today, too. Live reaction to everything Rory and everybody else is doing today and tomorrow at 4 Eastern on the Game Day Garage YouTube channel. I don't care. I will self-promote. Boom. And listen, speaking of new situations, too, like this works for quarterbacks. Like I'm really interested to see what some of these new quarterback situations in the NFL look like, too, right? Because there's going to be a different mindset. There's going to be kind of a fresh start there. I mean, I've never been a fan of Kyler Murray and his game, but I actually think that with a Justin Jefferson connection there and Kevin O'Connell, we could see a grown-up Kyler Murray like we've seen a grown-up Rory McIlroy, honestly, because you're going to have better coaching. It's an organization that's had a lot more success. I know that it's not like the Vikings have been, they're a team that has underachieved once they've gotten to the playoffs, but you got a great head coach, and it's not the Cardinals who are just, they've been a mess for years. We all know that. But Kyler Murray is really in a spot where it's a great example of what a fresh start might be able to do for him. Now, we don't know yet, but it's a similar spot where sometimes just wiping the slate clean. Look, I get it. People get mad when athletes request trades or, want to force their way out or hold out for new contracts or whatever, but you don't always have control. And when you get drafted when you're a quarterback and you get drafted by a team that's really bad, guess what? You're in for a rude awakening, because most of the time, these quarterbacks that are drafted in the first round, high in the first round, whatever the case is, you're coming from a great college program. You likely were elite in high school, unless there's some sort of miracle where you just accelerated and transferred a bunch. I mean, there are other scenarios like that, but for the most part, you're used to having success. You get to the NFL, it's all the best of the best, and smacks you in the face real quick. And now when there are chances for other quarterbacks to get some new opportunities, and we've seen it over the years, again, Sam Darnold is a big example. Baker Mayfield's a big example, though he had a little success early in Cleveland before he always dealt with those injuries. These are quarterbacks that kind of took the scenic route. And it'll be interesting to see what a fresh start for like a Kyler Murray looks like. I mean, Malik Willis getting a chance to start in Miami, I don't know. That team they gutted that roster. That's going to be a tough spot for him. He might end up being a bridge quarterback where let's see what he could do. Tua in Atlanta, I don't even know if he's going to start, but like they clearly brought him there because they don't necessarily trust Michael Penix Jr. to at least stay healthy. Maybe Tua with Kevin Stefanski as his new head coach, Kevin Stefanski won 2 Coach of the Year awards in Cleveland. That's hard to do. That Browns organization is as bad as it gets. So there's going to be some new coaching and a better opportunity for Tua there. I mean, it's not always about the start of a quarterback's career. It's just how they progress and how they finish. And sometimes it does take that fresh start. Not every quarterback's going to be a great quarterback right away. Sometimes ends up being later. And I think we have a chance where either Kyler Murray or Tua Tagovailoa are going to be quarterbacks that get a fresh start where they are, and they have this ability to show they've still got something left. Tua is different because we're dealing with some concussions and injuries that are there. Kyler Murray's had his own injuries, but it's obviously not the same in that sense. But fresh starts matter. Fresh starts change things a lot. And when you're a quarterback, you get a new offense, you learn a little bit more, can make a huge difference. You're going to get a fresh start after me because I'm done. That's how you segue, my friends. That's what you do. I'm at Nick Ashooh on all the socials. And make sure you check out the Game Day Garage live stream today on YouTube and X and Twitch. It's literally on everything starting at 4 Eastern for the Masters. That's right. Self-promotion is what I do, and I don't care. I'm Nick Ashooh.